Hi, I'm Jakob Spjut, and I'm here to talk about a flexible classroom. Specifically, I want to talk about how we can use in-person teaching techniques and remote teaching techniques to make for a good learning experience for everyone. I'm a professor of engineering science at Quinebaug Valley Community College, and I've been teaching remotely since March 2020, like most people. I've also been doing this combined in-person and remote teaching since spring of 2021, and I've moved more of my stuff to that modality or mode of teaching since then because I found it to be useful. So let's look at remote learning and some of the trade-offs that come with it. Specifically, this is even apart from, I know a lot of people were thrown into remote learning, and if you had a kid or you were taking classes, switching over to that with people who weren't prepared, it was kind of rough for everybody. But even if you prepare for it, there are some benefits that you get, right? But there are also some drawbacks. One benefit is that remote, especially if it's like online asynchronous or synchronous even, like it can accommodate more schedules because say you have to watch your kids. Well, your kids can be in the house and you can be in class. It's a little bit different than taking kids into a college classroom. Depending on the kids, that can be kind of disruptive. Also, if life gets in the way, you get sick, you have to travel for work, as long as you can make time for class, you can keep doing that with a remote learning. If you're on an in-person, on-ground class, that's hard to do. Your assignments are all submitted online somehow, so it's easier to keep track of them for some people, and it kind of forces you to be technically competent. Drawbacks are, of course, that, well, you now have to be technically competent in order to be successful here. And it's tough to build the same sorts of relationships for a lot of people, where if you're online, you don't have the same types of connections. You can have different types, but some people really want that in person, being able to talk to the professor, talk to their fellow students, build study groups, etc. Some home environments can be tough. I've mentioned kids a number of times. As you can tell, they're a big point in my life, and I've definitely had to teach some classes where kids are making way more noise than I wanted them to be making during the classes. Trying to learn in that environment can be difficult. And for some people, it can be easier or harder to participate. It's kind of a trade-off on where you feel more comfortable actually chiming in and asking questions if you get confused. Now, that was proposing it as like the trade-offs of remote, but you could equally phrase this as, well, in-person has trade-offs too, and they're kind of inverted, right? So in person, well, it's nice. You can build relationships, etc., right? Go to campus. I know I'm here, I'm studying. This is a place for learning, etc. And the drawbacks are, well, now I have to go to campus. What happens if I get sick? How do I catch up? How do I figure out what I missed, right? I now feel like I'm behind. Sometimes things are due in different ways. Trying to keep up with all that can be tricky, right? So my goal was to try and take the good things of both parts and try and combine them, and hopefully not just end up with the worst parts of both things. So we want to keep those opportunities to do all the things we want to do with your reference material, electronic assignment submission, while jettisoning some of the problematic or not so nice parts. So in practice, I've run this stuff as what's called a flex or a high flex. So it's this flexible classroom. That's the thing I'm talking about. And what I do is I teach in a classroom on campus at QVCC. Students can attend in person, and many do. Right now, I actually have 3 different classes. One, almost no one attends. I have one person who attends occasionally in person. Almost everyone's remote. One, it's flipped. Almost everyone attends. I have a couple of people who tend to be usually remote. And then one, it's about half and half, where about half people will be there, half will be remote. And they all kind of work. So you can attend in person or you can attend remotely. And I even have some students who can't really make the regular class time on a regular basis. And so every class is recorded so they can catch up with it afterwards. And I upload all my notes, and all of the assignments are submitted online. So that's the plan. Now, in practice, what can we really do with this, right? There are some restrictions that come with this. But I want to talk about how I got into this. So this is my home setup. You see nice 3-monitor setup. That one down there is a graphics tablet. So this one here is a graphics tablet, so I can write straight on it. You see I've got all that writing. That's what I use to write my notes, to solve equations, that sort of stuff. And then I'm looking at what people are typing in chat remotely. So this was when I was doing fully remote. I was at home. That's the setup. And so I thought, well, I need to take the good parts of this and bring it to a classroom. And so here's my setup in the classroom that I'm talking about this with you right now. And you can see I have a graphics tablet. I have my monitor. I have a webcam so people can see me. And I'll talk about a little bit more of this as we go on. So the graphics tablet. You might not know, this is something to look into. You can get a Microsoft Surface has built-in capabilities for this, but there are separate things that you can just plug into your computer. And what I'm doing is I'm duplicating this on a projector. So whatever's on the screen is going to be on the projector. And I can even show this to you if you want. I can go here. You can see this is what it looks like in the room. If you're in the room, you've got the projector out there. You can see me. You're probably focusing in on this, but rather than broadcasting this video to my classes, instead, we broadcast this so people can see that a little bit better. Here, I'm going to get rid of my face to kind of get out of the way of the content. And so then when I draw stuff on the tablet, it goes up there. And then I have another monitor so I can see what's going on remotely. So this is the setup. I have those two monitors duplicated, and then this monitor is a separate monitor. So anybody doing this on Windows, feel free to duplicate this setup if you're interested in doing that sort of thing. But now I've got my screen that I put my Collaborate or Zoom or Teams or whatever you're using for the remote conferencing on there. And then I share that. So here's the screen. I share my screen there. And then anything I do on the tablet just goes up there. So anything I want people to see remotely, I just show on the tablet. So for example, I can go to Microsoft Whiteboard. I have it pulled up over here somewhere. Here's Whiteboard. And with Whiteboard, again, I can pull my face in if I want people to see what I'm talking about. I can draw straight on here. It's important to be able to, yeah, we'll make them happy. There we go. Lovely. So you can see it's easy, just like I had a whiteboard in the room. And what that means is this is stuff that I did live. Students asked questions about some homework problems. They wanted some clarification. And so I worked through it for them. And they could ask at the points where they got confused or couldn't quite follow. So it gives that back and forth, whether you're in person or remote, a chance to do that similarly and see stuff well. And keep in mind, this is recorded. So if somebody doesn't quite get it or was absent or whatever, they can go back and check the recording to be able to check that out. So got Whiteboard, YouTube videos. Here's a YouTube video I have pulled up. So this one was actually an animation made by a QVCC student. By listening to the sound of the saw, the workers can tell when the saw has reached an appropriate operating speed and sign can commence. The power from the turbine is transmitted to the main shaft on the lower level via bevel gears. That shaft has flywheels that increase rotational inertia to maintain smooth rotation. A belt transmits power from the main shaft on the lower level to the saw shaft on the upper level. All right, you get the idea. So I did the narration for it, but that was done by a student, and we actually collaborated remotely for this whole thing. He had to get out to the sawmill to measure a bunch of these parts, and then he made all the stuff remotely. We collaborated. It worked out pretty well as an independent study. So anyway, I can show various YouTube videos. I can show useful computer programs. So for example, this is something that I just did. I have the sound off on this, so you don't necessarily, so I can talk over it. But this was, come on, there we go. So I'm showing people how to do some computer-aided modeling, some finite element analysis on this little table thing that's part of a design challenge so that they can figure out that stuff. So anyway, this is a thing that I just did. So it's really easy to show relevant computer programs. I can also show, well, I had some students who were remote and they made some stuff. So here you go. They designed these tables, we 3D printed them, and then we had to test them. They were supposed to withstand 75 pounds of force. So they designed them up using a CAD program. This table right here was actually designed by a remote student. He had never actually been in the classroom, and he wasn't in the classroom for this. We had a number of students in the classroom, but we measure the mass of it, try and figure out the strength to weight. There you go. And so then he can see remotely as I'm putting this on the table. Yes, it supports the 75 pounds. Here we're doing it with cinder blocks. And we went through all of the different tables like that, right? I think at some point I started like stepping on them to show that like most people way over design theirs. So there you go. Lovely. And showing other things. So that's some of that. And lastly, I'll show you this. So this was, I'm talking about some of these things, working through problems, just kind of skipping through this class, showing some videos. And then I can show, like, this was something that I did live during class. This is a sample, and we're doing some shear testing. Sorry, not shear testing. This is tensile testing. So you lock it in those jaws, and you pull it apart. And I can kind of scrub forward here and try and find, so you can see, you can zoom in to try and look at the screen. There you go. So you can see it being stretched apart from where it originally was. It's now stretched, right? And people in class can see it, people remote can see it. It's pretty handy. All right. PowerPoint presentations. You see, I'm doing this all as a PowerPoint presentation. You can see it's working fairly well. Being able to hop out for things. One thing that I'll demonstrate though is that in addition to what I'm doing here, like I can have pre-recorded things where I have this and play them back as animations. So I can say, okay, if we want to combine these resistors all together, we'll combine these two first, like this, and then I can, like have it all skip through. I'm skipping through a little bit because I'm not trying to teach it to you right now, but I could someday if you're interested. And then at any point here, like I've got this pre-done, so in my lecture notes, I just went ahead and had it pre-set up like this. But at any point when people ask questions, I can hop in here and I can just add on additional things, happy faces, etc. So I can answer questions. It's not just like a pre-done thing. So I do record pre-done videos and put them on YouTube, and then people can watch them that way as well for some things, right? Some shorter videos. But for class, one of the benefits is getting to have a back and forth with the professor, asking me questions. And so it's nice to have that flexibility while I'm doing this, and it's nice for students to have that as well. So there we go. We solved the thing. Our equivalent resistance, 196 kiloohms. Everybody's happy. So hopefully I've given you the idea of what's going on here. I have a few final notes. One is that part of what I'm doing here is a little bit more complicated because I'm using OBS. That's what lets me switch between like some of these different scenes here. I can zoom in on this. So this is all just switching using OBS. Hi, back to the tablet. So that's handy. It also lets me do things like when I need to take a break, need to go get some water, what have you. You got a long class, can't go continuously. We can do something like that and take a break, right? And so then if somebody had remotely been taking a break, they already know that, so that's handy. We can change cameras. I've shown you that stuff. I can hide my face and unhide it if it's getting in the way. And it makes it super easy to just record stuff to upload later. So here I'm just recording this using the same setup I would use to teach my class. It also makes it so that when people ask questions by email or whatever, I can, sometimes it's just easiest to record a video, upload it, send it out to the whole class so people can be like, all right, if people are confused on this, here's an answer. So using Blackboard, we have a learning management system at QVCC called Blackboard. It's not the best software, but honestly, I haven't found a learning management system that is. Apologies to anybody who works on those, but they're kind of clunky. It works fine though, and so I'm showing you here. So this is just in one of my course websites. You've got your syllabus, etc. In here, you can go to Collaborate, and in Collaborate, you just join right here, join the course room. But for any of the recordings, you can come over here and you can see the dates. We can just look at any previous recording, and this is where I got those other videos from. I just downloaded them from here as the previous recording. Anybody here can just watch them live. So that's that. You can watch those recordings. You can submit work online. So in course content, I've got these different, every week we have a new thing. Chapter 5 here for electrical circuits. You've got what the work is. So is the homework, well, you click on it and it's due. So you then either write your submission or browse, attach stuff, hit submit. Lovely, it's submitted, right? And then there's a calendar to help keep track of. So if you're wondering when stuff due or what's going on, well, this red is for this class. Anybody who does it this way, your classes will show up the same way. So this is for all the classes I'm teaching. So you can see this homework is due, and I can go and edit this assignment right from here, or you can hop to the assignment if you're a student taking the course. So that's the calendar. And then my office hours, I have set up like this through bookings so that anybody can just come here and choose which date and time, choose a time, fill out the details and let me know, like, I want you to give me a phone call, or I want to do a video chat, or I want to meet in person. In this case, this is the engineering lab, W205, that I have chosen because that's where I meet people. So you just book it and come. I'm also around in the engineering lab during my office hours, so anybody can still just drop by. But this means that if somebody's remote and they're not coming to campus, or they're out of state for work or whatever, they can schedule it just as easily. So that's the hope, and that's what I have to share with you. So hopefully that was clear, not too fast. I'm excited to do this, and I decided to go this route because when I did a survey, unanimously, my engineering and physics students said that they really wanted the option to be in person to learn this stuff because it was way easier for a lot of them to learn it, but they really appreciated the flexibility of being able to watch the recordings later. Even if they were taking notes during class, sometimes they didn't quite get it, and being able to go back and rewatch just the portion they cared about really helps, right? Or if they get sick, or their ex has to work late, and now they have to watch the kids than when they weren't expecting to, or whatever, life gets in the way. And so having this flexibility gives people the chance to learn in the modality that fits them. And if you can learn asynchronously or whatever, this also gives you that option. So I'm excited to do this. Thanks for your consideration, and I hope somebody watching this will have a chance to participate in similar stuff. I also don't want to make it seem like I'm the only person who invented all this. Like, a lot of people are doing this sort of thing all around. So ask at whatever college is closest to you if these sorts of options exist. And don't be a jerk if people aren't doing it. Like, some of this does take a little bit of technical expertise, but it's, I believe, an approachable goal. Thanks, and wish you well.